So the next of the rules that are going to help us in differentiating. Product rule. So that's when we've got two functions multiplied together. So to save expanding the whole thing out, we can use a product rule. If we're talking about, I guess, polynomials, where it becomes really useful is once we start looking at differentiating trig functions and things like that. Here's how I do it. So the formal one is u and v are two functions of x, and there's the formula. But I just remember it this way because basically I remember what I do, if you get what I mean. So as I'm doing it, I say it in my head and then I just get it done. So write down the first and diff the second, plus write down the second and diff the first. So something like this. So yeah, of course I could expand that out, but to use it for the sake of an example. So write down the first, well the first function is x to the power of 7. Diff the second, well my second function there, x to the power of 9 minus 6, differentiate that, I get 9x to the power of 8. Plus, write down the second, diff the first, so 7x to the power of 6. And then I can tidy all that up and I get our final answer. Now, yeah, a product rule might not be the greatest way of doing that particular example, so it may well just be quicker to expand it out to start with. But as I say, just using that as an example of the product rule. Same here, it's probably quicker just to expand out, but I could go, write down the first, x minus 2, diff the second, 2, plus write down the second, 2x minus 3, diff the first, 1. And then tidy all that up, and we get our answer, 4x minus 7. Once again, yes, I could expand the whole thing out. This one's just simply saying differentiate this, so I'll go straight into the answer. Write down the first, diff the second, 6x, plus write down the second, diff the first, 7x, 6 minus 3x squared. Fair bit of tidying up to do with that one. There's our answer. So the product rule, write down the first, diff the second, plus write down the second, diff the first. It gets more impressive the quicker and quicker you can say it, actually. You can challenge each other. And then when you go home today and they say, what did you learn today? You go, oh, what did I learn today? Oh, write down the first, diff the second, plus write down the second, diff the first. And they go, wow, that's amazing. Okay. Here's one where the product rule does come in handy, because I really don't want to expand this all out with the power of 5. So here we combine the product rule with a bit of anarchy. Okay? So write down the first, 3x, diff the second, but the second one I've got to use my chain rule, so bring down the power, lower the power, diff the inside, plus write down the second, x squared plus 4 to the power of 5, diff the first, 3. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the mere mortal answer there. But of course we notice, hang on a sec, that factorises. We can see there's a common factor of 3. There's also a common factor of x squared plus 4 to the power of 4. I said there was a common factor of 3. Didn't follow my own advice there. Okay, eventually we get our common factor of 3 taken out. So there it is, 3, x squared plus 4 to the power of 4, 11x squared plus 4. So that one, the product rule certainly was useful. I did not want to expand that whole thing out. Yes, it's also useful when we have square roots. We can't expand that out. So I'll write that in index form. It's 2x times 2x minus 1 to the half. Write down the first, 2x, diff the second I've got to use our chain rule, bring down the power, lower the power, diff the inside, plus write down the second, 2x minus 1 to the half, diff the first, 2, and then this is where factorising really is fun. We've got a common factor of 2, remember it's always the lowest power, negative a half is the lowest power in this case. So I factorise 2x minus 1 to the negative a half, leaving me with x plus 2x minus 1. No, we can go better than that. That negative half, of course, means over the square root of 2x minus 1. That's a much more impressive answer there. 2 outside of 3x minus 1 on the square root of 2x minus 1. Okay, so 9h is all on the product rule.